Oh my goodness, this is our 25th vlog. Welcome to vlog number 25. Steve Dotto here. How the heck you doing this fine day? I'm in a bit of a cranky mood today. It's got nothing to do with you guys in the vlog. It has to do with what's happening in the world. I'm working on this week's Webinar Wednesday, and I'm taking on a really difficult topic this week. I'm taking on the topic of fake news, how we deal with fake news, and what I think our responsibility is going to be. And I'm really concerned because it's a sensitive topic, and it could go wrong in so many different ways. Taking on this topic and talking about this topic on Webinar Wednesday, but this week I'm determined to do this because, well, there's a friend of ours. Those of you in the social media community know Brian Kramer. He's a good buddy of ours, great guy. His wife Courtney's a wonderful woman. He's just a salt of the earth guy. He is in London currently, and he sent out a Facebook message this week. They're visiting on holiday. He's American from the States, and he was having a drink at a pub with friends, as you would do in London, and somebody walks up to him and his wife and says, "Are you guys American?" And they said yes. And the person picked up a beer and dumped it over Courtney, his wife's head. Brian stood to confront this jackass, and 5 guys jumped him. Brian got beat up, not severely beat up, not like they have to cancel their trip, but he's bruised and battered, and probably shaken to the core. The timing that I read this on early Monday morning, was right when I was deciding what our webinar for this coming week was going to be. And I had 3 or 4 topics, and one that I had kind of always in the back burner was I wanted to talk about what's happening with fake news. And if we can't, as a community, start to educate ourselves more proactively on fake news, because so much of the hate, so much of the degradation of civil values comes out of these knee-jerk reactions and this propagation of stories that just do nothing but incite anger, create a world of us and them. And Brian, I think, was a victim of this. Brian is, I mean, if you ever met him, if you spent 5 minutes with him, you would say, this is a great guy. And ditto for his wife, Courtney, wonderful woman. There's not a person on the planet, a civil person on the planet, that would not sit down, meet these people, and think ill of them. They're just that kind of people. Yet here they were involved in this altercation, which I think is going to affect the rest of their lives. How they look at the world, how they look at themselves, how they look at others and strangers. Brian I asked him for permission to share his story, and he says, as long as you make sure that you know that I'm not blaming the British, or that I don't think London's a terrible city. He's not blaming anyone. He blames the individuals and alcohol to a certain extent. And so recognizing that, but knowing that so much of this distrust that's happening in the world comes out of fake news, or it's part and parcel of it. So I've been working on my talk for this week's Webinar Wednesday, and that's why I'm kind of in a crabby mood. First of all, I'm afraid that the webinar itself could get off the rails. I don't think it will, because the angle that I'm going to take is not going to be confrontational. I'm not going to be pointing out any particular groups in what I'm talking about. I'm going to talk about the how it happens and how we are taken advantage of by the people spreading the fake news. I'm also concerned that I want to do a good job, and I know there's going to be resistance from people in our community that they aren't going to want to do what I'm going to be asking people to do. So that's why I'm kind of, but I'm happy it's our 25th show. Adding on to that, there's all sorts of things that I'm struggling with, and I'm sure you're struggling with, around the moving parts of what's happening online. The privacy situation, the fake news situation, all of this is kind of one kind of weaves into the other, even though they're separate issues. And this is, I should be excited about this because of Amazon Prime. I bought me one of these, which is the Echo Dot. Now, why the hell did you buy an Echo Dot, Steve, when you've got Google Home? Because I want to test them out, and I want to do a video on it, and I want to check out what they're doing in Amazon with this. And they had a deal where when you bought it, you could get a Philips Hue kit, white and color ambient kit. So because here in the office, I don't know if you can see, but I'm going to be changing out my light bulbs up above, and I'm going to be putting these lights in, and then on the back wall and on the side wall, as I do different types of videos, I'm going to have different color being washed on the walls, just to add a little more ambiance to the living set here that I have here. So I'm excited about that. But every time I start taking a look at the smart devices in the house, I'm met with the same internal dialogue about privacy and whether or not I should be showcasing technology that I have some qualms about. And I do have qualms about how this stuff is being used and how the information is being used and what's happening to our privacy. So I was talking to this with a buddy of mine last night, and he is of the opinion that I'm absolutely crazy to be sharing this stuff at all, both having these devices in the house and also teaching people on the channel about it, because he's all about his own personal privacy. He thinks that we share way too much, and it's hard to argue with that. Isn't it hard to argue? It's impossible to argue that. He's right. He's absolutely right. I started to say last night to him, you know something, Dan? I don't think privacy is a right anymore because it's gone. We don't have privacy anymore. It's been taken away from us, if we ever had it. But maybe we should start looking at it as a currency, as something that we can exchange for something to our benefit. And I don't know if I'm completely off base on this. Please tell me in the comments whether you think I am heading completely down the wrong path and I've taken a turn somewhere and I've got to come back to the mainstream. But if we look at our privacy as a currency that we share, and we have to choose what we get back in return. Now, I give up a lot of my privacy here, having a channel like this, bringing you into my home, sharing this content with you. Now, I don't feel that, I guess if I looked at it just completely pragmatically, I am exchanging my privacy for money at the end of the day, because we make our living off of the YouTube channel. So there's that equation. It's there. And it's something that we have to come to terms with. And then we got to choose what we are willing to give away in return for what we get back. With these devices, we're exchanging our privacy for convenience, or for entertainment, or for a comfort level within our home. So that is the equation that we are going to be working our way through. And maybe that'll give us a little more context and maybe it'll make it a little bit less of an emotional conversation. Because we know that the companies that are developing these technologies are not doing so from an emotional basis. They're doing it from a purely pragmatic and how can we make money base. So if we look at our personal privacy as a currency, maybe things can come into focus a little bit more. I don't know. What do you think? Tell me, what do you think? So lots of kind of deep questions today on the vlog. 25 vlogs in, and all of a sudden Steve's getting very, very deep. Number one, we're going to be talking fake news. I'm going to put links in below for this webinar on our privacy. I've been working really hard on the presentation part of it. Even if you watch this vlog after this week's webinar has played, click on the link if you're interested, because I'm gonna keep this webinar replay public. Usually we only leave our webinar replays up for a short period of time, and then I put them into an archive for our patrons at Patreon. But this particular webinar, I think we're gonna turn into a free mini course, because I want it to be the basis for lots of conversation, and I want to be able to point people to it as we talk about this in the future, because I believe it's something of social responsibility that we should all be. I'm not saying I'm going to have the answers, but I know I'm going to open your eyes to some of the issues so you can understand just what a beast we face. Everything is biased that's delivered to us, and it's biased to our own biases. I will explain it all in more detail during the webinar. But so even if you haven't got time to take it in live and you're interested, click on the link and there'll be a great replay available for you to be able to watch it later. And again, I look for your feedback on that. So I'm going to leave it with you to let me know what you think, especially about the privacy side. I'd love to hear your comments on the privacy side. It's a topic I know we're going to return to a lot, but let's keep that dialogue going, and please keep it civil. We appreciate that. Till next time, have fun storming a castle.